Shabbat Shalom. So the joke about Jewish holidays is that they tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. But I want to ask tonight on Shabbat Hagadol, survival for what purpose? We just experienced the holiday of Purim, which is about survival for survival's sake. And thank God, Haman lost and we won. But Passover teaches us that our survival was for the sake of values that we brought into the world. Survival and self-preservation, they're important, but they are not goals unto themselves. Purim is a necessary holiday in a world where there is still evil. But the way we celebrate it says a lot. It is a topsy-turvy holiday where we use farce and satire to deal with our pain. Passover, on the other hand, we take seriously. Actually, that's what I wrote this afternoon, but now I'm picturing tables where they're throwing frogs and lice and other things. But let's just say we take it seriously. We study and discuss, and we ask questions and debate. As an aside, asking questions is similar, in my mind, to survival. To what end do we ask questions? Yehuda Kurtzer, president of the Hartman Institute, recently wrote that debate is important, but it is not a goal unto itself. Asking questions is important, but not the main point of Judaism. We don't ask questions at the Seder to learn that asking questions is good. Yes, it is good, and we keep inspiring and we say we get to ask questions, but the asking questions is to open the door to providing answers. Thus, questioning and survival are for the larger purpose about obligation and commitment. Our time now, from Pesach through Shavuot, teaches us the point. On Pesach, we ritualize our foundational story of leaving Egypt to remember it in our viscera. We eat, digest, we feel it affect our bodies, and talk into the night to say that we were slaves, degraded, and now we're free, praiseworthy, and therefore we get it. No one should be enslaved or degraded. We should not oppress others. The radical revolution of Judaism was to create a narrative so strong and compelling, it might just have a chance to uplift humanity over its own nature, to protect our own self-interest at all costs. Instead, we were freed in the most dramatic way. Indeed, we were freed in the most dramatic way in history, and we will not forget to think of others. All who are hungry, come and eat. But this is just the beginning. Not oppressing others is a primary message of the Seder and Passover. We then get 50 days leading us to the bigger point. In 50 days comes the holiday of Shavuot, when we stand on Sinai. Not oppressing strangers is the baseline. There are many more obligations coming in giving of Torah, which is the constitution of our people. And that constitution is for citizen and stranger alike. All need to abide by the law. We protect the stranger, and the stranger needs to abide by the law. The challenge to living a life of Torah and values is fear. Real fear and imagined fear. There was a film that raises many of these issues, which won the Best Original Screenplay by the Oscars this year, A Real Pain. It was written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg, who also starred in it along with Kieran Culkin. Eisenberg and Culkin play cousins in their early 30s, struggling with the relationship as they travel to Poland for a Jewish heritage tour, and also to visit the former home of their grandmother, a survivor of Majdanek. a Nazi death camp that she escaped during World War II. Eisenberg, who plays David, a solid family man and hard worker, tells his fellow tourists on the trip about his grandmother over dinner one night. She used to tell me that, first-generation immigrants work like some kind of menial jobs often. They drive cabs, they deliver food. The second generation, they go to good schools. They become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And the third generation lives in their mother's basement and smokes pot all day. David's cousin Benji, a kind of charismatic vagabond played by Culkin, turns to David and says, "Wait, she was talking about me. I live in my mother's basement." Wounded, he stomps off. In the play on words, where is the real pain? Once he leaves David says, how can the product of 1,000 miracles turn out like him? The film explores what the real pain is and how each generation's inherited pain manifested differently. Here we are, right now, us, the products of endless miracles. What will we do when so many are imperiled at this very moment? When surviving anti-Semitism that is real and rising is being used as a way to diminish the rights of others? Rabbis Adler, Renetsky, and I recently signed a letter that spoke about how we must fight anti-Semitism and also not do so indiscriminately, and to speak up when American constitutional rights might be trampled in our name. The question is, how quickly might we give up on the values from Pesach and the Torah because it's feeling like Purim? The key message of Passover is to know the heart of the stranger because we were strangers, to care for the vulnerable, the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. That's the charge. That's the purpose. How do we use our endless miracles that brought each one of us to this moment, to this sanctuary, to this Shabbat, to inspire us to find deep in our bones the courage to continue facing the terrible and terrifying challenges of our times in Israel and in America, and still not focus only on survival, but the purpose of our survival. In the Haggadah, there is one passage I want to highlight because it raises the tension between survival and survival to what end. It is where the Purim message about survival appears in the midst of our Seder, so that when you come to it tomorrow night, you have a sense of where a Purim message lurks in our Passover holiday. Those of you in the sanctuary have a copy of our Haggadah that we're using at home. You can just listen to the words. We are on page 30. This is a section that when you're doing so many sections, it's hard to know that any one section is important. This is so important, and it's such a central message, and sometimes it gets lost. V'hi she'amda. And one of the things that you're supposed to do is you're supposed to lift up your glass. One of the four glasses, it's the second glass. Why do you lift up your glass? The glass of wine represents redemption, survival. You're also supposed to cover the matzah before you do so. At various times in the Seder, we're covering the matzah, uncovering the matzah. When it's uncovered, it's poor person's bread, halach ma'anya. When it's covered, it's freedom bread. It's the bread of our freedom. The same bread having different symbols. So now the bread is covered, suggesting we're talking about freedom. We're lifting up our glasses, suggesting redemption. And in here it says the translation is, let me just be clear, this is not a translation, it's a rendition of what this is about. God promised Abraham that after 400 years of servitude, his descendants would leave the foreign land of their bondage and witness the judgment of their oppressors. It is this promise that has sustained the Jewish people in each generation, as enemies arose to destroy us. And the Holy One of Blessings saved us from their hand, enabling us to say, Am Yisrael Achai, the Jewish people lives. So this suggests the essence of what this is about. It's about every generation there are real enemies, and God will save us. It's a very hopeful message. It's also a very challenging message when you say, where is God? Vehi she'amda. Think about this message, but I want you to keep the text there. I want to read a few other translations so you can hear different renditions of this. This is from the New American Haggadah. And it was this that stood fast for our fathers and for us, unwavering. Let me just pause here. Vehi she'amda, literally, and it stood. And it was this that stood. So here he translates it. And it was this that stood fast for our fathers and for us, unwavering. For it was not one alone who stood over us, a heel on our necks, bent on our annihilation. But in generation after generation, they rise up against us, intent on destroying us, and yet the Holy One, blessed be God, breaks their grip, and we are saved. Now you start wondering, as I am wondering right now, where does it say in the Torah that in every generation there's going to be someone who's going to rise up against us? It doesn't. This comes from lived experience, and it enters into our Haggadah, that we feel this pessimism that there is always an enemy bent on destroying us. This is called the Lovell Haggadah. And what the Lovell Haggadah notices, Vehi she'amda, is in the feminine. It was she who stood by our ancestors and by us in times of trouble and in joy. But it is not just one tyrant who rose up to annihilate us, but in every generation they seek to destroy us, and the Holy Blessed One redeems us from their hands. Vehi she'amda, it was she. Who's the she? The Shekhinah, the feminine presence of God. Or she is the promise that we will be saved. Some of us were in a poetry session last Sunday with Rachel Korazim, master teacher from Israel, who some of us studied with a year ago, and she read some poems from Israel where they're playing literally on this text, Vehi she'amda, and saying, where is God now? We are in a time where we are not beseder, not in order, not okay. This last Haggadah that I want to share, the open door, Passover Haggadah, this one recognizes there's a midrash on this from 1,700 years ago that says it's not just that people rose up against us in every generation, people stood with us to support us in every generation. So this last message that I want to offer is this one, and this is literally how it's translated in this Haggadah. This is God's promise to our ancestors and to us. Although one individual stands against us to destroy us, another stands with us in difficult times. In every generation, when some are blinded by hate, others build bridges of understanding. The Holy One, our source of help, sustains us. What I love about this last translation is it gives us not just hope, but realistic hope, and opens our eyes to the millions of people who are supportive of each other, who live with love and not by hate, who can be people who hold hands together to make this world a better place. That's where redemption comes, not from the pessimistic, opening eyes, how can you not see all the evil, but how can you not see all the good? We're going to learn how to sing Vehi she'amda, one of the tunes, so if you still have the text before you, we'll learn this tune, and if it's not familiar, keep singing it to yourself so that you might be able to try it tomorrow at your Passover Seder.
And I think it might be on our website from COVID times, so you can hear a rendition of it there. So the first sentence we're going to repeat. Vehi she'amda, lavotenu v'lanu tret. Vehi she'amda. she'amda vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. One more time. Vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. Vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. And then the next part is Shelo echad bilvad. Try that. Shelo echad. Actually, I don't know that I can do this in just like little bits. Shelo echad bilvad. Try that. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Try that all together. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Again. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Let's start from the beginning. Vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. Vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Ela shebechol dovador. Ela shebechol dovador. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu. Ela shebechol dovador. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu. I know it's kind of long. Ela shebechol dovador. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu. V'hakadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. V'hakadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. I'm not going to learn it and well enough probably to leave it tonight, but do check out our website if you want to leave it and listen to it a bunch of times. Let's do the whole thing from the top, though. Is that okay? All right. Vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. Vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Shelo echad bilvad. Amad aleinu lechalotenu. Ela shebechol dovador. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu. Ela shebechol dovador. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu. V'hakadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. V'hakadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam.
In case Candace Strauss-Klein is not coming to your Seder, it's possible to do what we do once in a while, which is just go, Vehi she'amda, Vehi she'amda. Let's turn the page and go on. So just that part is catchy, and you get the message, and it adds a little musical flair to your long litany of language in the Seder. So it is, I hope, the message clear that we have so much to discuss that is real and relevant in our Seders about our worlds. May you have meaningful and joyful Seders. Please rise.